Record.
At least I don't have to check every time. I know.
Thank goodness.
I know that this goes under my left ear. Hold on, I still have a piece of candy. I can't chew on it because it will pull off my newly cemented crown.
Ah, yes.
And or my braces or my retainer.
I've had this retainer for like, how long now?
Well,
it's
that's
fine.
what my girl was like. She's like, that retainer will not come off.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, maybe like 10 or maybe even like 20 years down the road, it might pop off. We'll get it replaced that day.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. But mine is weird. Like, it's just a wire.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
I always thought it was like a huge like bar that goes across.
Wow.
I think that's what husband have.
My constant companion, my retainer.
Mm-hmm. Well, she goes, you're going to get a sore on your tongue from messing with it. And I was like, girl, you do not know the hell that I put my mouth through daily. I am not going to get a sore from a retainer.
least worrying thing. No, I play with mine constantly. For the past 10 years. No sores.
I have been playing with it constantly. Let's see. I did choose.
Oh, you.
I did choose.
Good.
No, I don't know. Oh, there it is. It's really big.
Oh, there it is.
Oh my goodness. Bella was very quiet. Her breathing had accelerated. I looked up at her, knowing I would finally see the fear I was waiting for. Had I not just admitted how close I'd been to killing her? Closer than the van that had come within slim inches of crushing her life from her body, and yet her face was still calm, her eyes still tightened only with concern. You remember? Yes, she said, her voice level and grave. Her deep eyes were full of awareness. She knew. She knew that I had wanted to murder her. Where were her screams? And yet here you sit, I said, pointing out the inherent contradiction. Yes, here I sit, because of you. Her expression altered, turned curious, as she unsubtly changed the subject. Because somehow you knew how to find me today. Hopelessly, I pushed one more time at the barrier that protected her thoughts, desperate to understand. It made no logical sense to me. How could she even care about the rest with that glaring truth on the table? She waited, only curious. Her skin was pale, which was natural for her, but it still concerned me. Her dinner sat nearly untouched in front of her. If I continued to tell her too much, she was going to need a buffer when the shock... If I continued to tell her too much, she was going to need a buffer when the shock set in at last. I named my turns. I named my terms. You eat, I'll talk. That was a lot.
The crickle crackle is back and I hate it.
I know, and I
think I just need to go get a new
it like
one
doesn't
of
matter
these.
what I do to anything.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Where's the crickle crackle? Oh well.
Yeah, why?
I haven't ever noticed it while I'm editing, so it either must just become faint enough that it you don't notice it on the recording, or it just doesn't save.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's just like an ear thing. Like
Maybe.
It's I don't know. No, I don't know.
Of
course not.
Nope.
All right, we did our Patreon
know.
on the last one.
Mm-hmm.
We did our updates on the last one.
It's fine. What day is it?
Today?
No,
Real today?
Later today. Oh, I want
The day of this?
mid-recording meeting.
Are you asking what the day is that this is being released?
No, I'm looking at my calendar on the floor.
Oh.
So this episode comes out on the 16th. When do you want to do the Zoom for this month? The 17th would have been my natural suggestion, but that's husband's birthday. So do we want to do it the week after that, which would be the week before Halloween?
Yeah.
Okay. Then never mind. We'll talk about that next chapter.
Okay. All right, that'll be our update.
For later.
Sweet.
Okay.
And yeah, we already did everything.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up? My name is Emily.
It sunk in how true that was when you said what's up and I just incoherently mumbled for 10 seconds.
I do feel that.
This is Marin.
And we are representing
Remember Twilight, the podcast.
Welcome to the Midnight Sun area of the podcast, everybody. We are talking about today Chapter 9, Port Angeles.
Oh, Port Angeles is a beautiful city.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have at least one patron who lives in Port Angeles.
We do.
I only said that because I couldn't remember if he is no longer one of our patrons or not.
A current or former.
Yeah, so very cool. Oh my gosh, we've been there.
Oh, speaking of Patreon though.
Oh, uh-huh.
I just want to remind everybody that it doesn't matter if you join our Patreon for 1 month, if you join it for 100 years, you are always welcome. Come and go as you please.
Yes. Never feel like you owe us your patronage.
By becoming a Patreon, you are not taking advantage of anything.
No, you're supporting us.
Yes.
And literally any little amount helps. Even if it is $5 for 1 month, we are grateful for it. And
absolutely.
And then if you are like, I have to leave for literally whatever reason, we will still accept you into our community at large.
Yes, we don't
which is
you.
everybody listening. So
we don't talk bad about you.
Please either be our patron or don't.
Yeah, whatever you feel. Whatever you feel is best for you that day.
It's fine.
Anyway, beautiful city.
Gorgeous. We've been there before. We walked down a scary alley.
Yeah, there was a sign that said something about poo on it. I don't remember what it was though. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I forgot about that, but I think you're right.
Don't poo in the entryway. I don't remember. There was definitely a poo sign.
But here's how dumb we are. There was 3 girls. It was me, Emily, and Emily's cousin Trisha.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just the 3 of us, and it's like 9:30 at night, and we're just wandering around Port Angeles, and we're like, hey, look, a deserted alley between 2 warehouses. Let's go down there because that's what Bella
just
did.
like Bella.
Why are we so stupid? It's not like I wasn't into true crime back then. I most certainly was.
It wasn't like we didn't literally know what almost happened to Bella.
I was just really excited.
Yes, we wanted to live our Bella Swan fantasies.
My gosh.
Danger and all.
Cool.
What was Edward doing last week?
Oh, last week Edward was stalking like the weirdest ghost stalker you could imagine.
He was only in. He was out for 1 hour. He was back.
He was in a tree. He was in another tree. He was down at the bottom of a tree.
No, not trespassing for sometimes. Definitely trespassing for most of the times.
He uprooted a tree.
Yeah.
He was one with the trees.
He did become one with the forest, for sure.
He just stared at Bella for 3 days straight.
All her unflattering angles, and sometimes maybe the flattering ones, too.
Oh, Edward.
Anyway, it's time for Bella and Jessica and Angela to go to Port Angeles to go dress shopping for the dance that Bella's not attending. And so, Edward is on his way there. He gets into town. It's still the middle of the day, aka like what, 4:30?
It's probably 4:30.
5-ish?
I don't know.
Too bright for a vampire, that's for sure. And so he doesn't go into town proper yet. He just parks before he gets there.
Yeah, he parks in like a weird overgrown driveway that nobody ever uses.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Yep.
And then he's like, I know the general direction where to go because there's not many places to shop for dresses in Port Angeles. And I thought to myself, that's really true. Is there?
I think one only. Maybe at
Is there a
JCPenney.
Target? What? Where are you going to get a dress? Is there a dress shop?
There might be a dress shop
there
for
might
the
be
Forks kids.
Just
and
one
Angela's kids.
lady and her daughter who runs a dress shop.
Mm-hmm.
And they either make dresses for you or they order it in, or one or both.
Or maybe it's like a dress swap place where you like go and get your dress and then you can go and like sell it to them or exchange it and get credit for your next dress.
That's smart.
Some
okay, I like the idea that there is a dress shop. Later, Edward says they're in a department store, which I'm a little offended by. I can't. No. You cannot. Guys, I guess if you really want to go to Target and get yourself a prom dress, you can. But I don't think that that's a Jessica Stanley type of thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's happening here. But it's okay. I'll move on with my life.
Jessica's the girl that shops at the 135 store with Regina George.
Yes. Do you know that actually that store used to exist in the 90s?
No.
But it wasn't 135, it was 579.
Oh my gosh.
And I used to go there all the time. And I didn't realize that it was literally a store for tiny people. Like, I was like, this is fine. This is just a store at the mall where I can go get a cute... And they did have super cute dresses. It was very, very cute. It was like Claire's, but they had dresses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd go there all the time. I didn't realize it was sizes.
That's how they get you. They play to the part of the population that's like, oh, this carry, like, I have clothes that fit me here, so it must be normal.
Oh my gosh.
Little do we know.
I did not like when I saw Mean Girls, I was mortified. I was like, oh no.
Oops. So yeah, Edward looks for the one dress shop and he knows that he's going to be able to hear Jessica because she's friggin' loud in her brain. And then once it gets dark, he can go closer to them. So he finds the girls. They're in front of the mirrors, and he can see Bella in Jessica's peripheral. I can say this when I don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
Now I'm nervous.
Corner of her eye.
Out of over here?
This side.
Just like where I can see Marin right now. It's like the faintest, biggest angle of Bella that he's gotten so far today. And Jessica is thinking about how, and I quote, Bella still looks pissed. Haha, Angela was right. Tyler was full of it.
I don't understand what's happening. What did Angela say? What did Tyler say? What's going on?
Well, Tyler's like, blah, 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 me and
She's
Bella are gonna go to prom.
Yeah, oh, okay, that's right. Because they were on the way there. They were like, oh, are you going to prom with Tyler? And Bella was like, what? Okay, I remember.
Yeah. I can't believe she's so upset about it, though. At least she knows she has a backup date for prom.
Okay.
That's important.
I guess.
What if Mike doesn't have fun and doesn't ask me out again? What if he asks Bella to the prom? Does he think she's prettier than me? Does she think she's prettier than me? And Bella's just like, I think I like the blue one better. Your eyes look nice.
Yeah. I mean, Jessica's like, oh my gosh, does Bella think that she's prettier than me? And then Bella is literally like, that blue dress made your eyes pop. And Jessica's like,
she's lying. She wants me to look disgusting.
I'm like, dude, chill out, Jessica. Jessica needs a mom. I don't know. Maybe her mom did this to her.
Oh no. More likely than not.
Yeah.
I was already tired of listening to Jessica. He finds Angela, but oops, Angela is changing dresses, and so he skipped out quickly. And Edward's like, well, I guess the worst thing that could happen to Bella is maybe she'll fall down an escalator.
Oh, don't underestimate Bella.
I guess she'll probably be fine.
He doesn't know yet.
Ish. I'll catch up with them when they're done. And so he notices that it's starting to get cloudy outside, and he's like, Excellente, I love a cloud. It's going to be so cloudy tomorrow when I can finally go sit by Bella at lunch.
Ask her all the questions I've been saving up. He has a list of questions for her. It's so cute.
Of course he does. And then he's like, she was mad about Tyler wanting to take her to the dance. That's good news. And so he just sits there and he waits. And
he doesn't say, but I'm like, he has to have in some sort of a CD. He's just sitting there in the car.
Yeah, maybe it's his waiting CD.
Yeah, he can't. Not Edward Cullen. He can't sit in a car without a CD.
Nah.
Okay.
He checks in every once in a while to see if they're still there, and they are. And when he does a check-in, he sees where they're going to be going to dinner. And so he reaches into his pocket and touches his phone, and he's like, perhaps I will call Alice and we'll just happen to show up at the same restaurant as Bella.
Edward.
I would.
Oh my gosh. That's crossing the line.
Definitely with Alice. But he's like, the reason he doesn't is because he doesn't want Alice to talk to Bella yet, not because he doesn't want to do it.
Yes.
Wasn't one vampire trouble enough? So then he checks in with Jessica, and she's telling Angela about how she probably needs to take back a necklace to the store because she already spent more money than she was supposed to, and she has this other necklace. Her mom's gonna freak out. And Angela's like, well, we can go back, but do you think Bella's gonna be looking for us? And Edward's like, what was this?
What? Bella wasn't with them? Oh my gosh.
They're outside on the sidewalk in front of some different stores, turning around. Bella, nowhere in sight. And Jessica says to Angela, she's fine. We're going to get to the restaurant early anyway. Oh, no.
She goes,
Jessica's like, who cares about Bella?
Who cares about Bella? This is her thoughts. This isn't even her, like, saying it flippantly or whatever. This is literally her thought, her first thought.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
Mm-hmm. And then she says, she's fine. We're going to get back early, blah, blah, blah. I think she wanted to be alone. And then she thinks about a bookshop that she thinks that Bella went to. And Angela's like, well, let's hurry then. I hope Bella doesn't think we ditched her. And thinks, she was so nice to me in the car before, but she seemed kind of blue all day. I wonder if it's because of Edward Cullen. I'll bet that was why she was asking about his family. And Edward's like, what is this? What have I missed? Now Bella's off wandering by herself, asking about me, and I have no idea what any of this is about. So Edward starts looking outside, and he's like, looking at all the shadows, and he's like, they're not quite ready for me yet.
And then we get the theme of the whole chapter. I started to feel anxious.
This wasn't something I had anticipated, but I should have. So he drives directly to the bookstore, and he looks at it, and it's empty except for the person who's working. And he's like, this store is too cool for Bella. She wouldn't have gone in here.
I've said this before. I think I said it in my last episode about this, but this is exactly the store she should have gone into.
Yes.
They've got the books about weird stuff.
Yep. Edward finds some shade to park in, and then he looks at the shade on the sidewalk, and he's like, there's a shade that goes directly from my car door to the awning of the shop. I shouldn't, right? I definitely shouldn't.
It's one sliver of shade.
But could I? He does. He parks, he gets out, he goes to the store, he can smell her.
Yes, and I'm like, Edward, he's wearing his beige turtleneck with his beige leather jacket in his tan pants. But this would have been a perfect time for a hoodie. Wear a hoodie and some sunglasses, you're good. Stick that hood on, pull your sleeves down, sunglasses, you're good.
See, he has not reached that level of prepared to be stalker, though. If he had had a hoodie and sunglasses on hand, I'd be like,
Yeah, he just left unprepared. He was
yeah, he's just chilling. He doesn't expect he's gonna have to go incognito.
Okay. And he's like, but I didn't know where else to look for Bella. The anxiety is ramping up.
Yep, we're
getting
getting
higher and higher.
so high. So he smells Bella outside, and he opens the door and he sniffs in the shop and he can't smell it. And the lady working's like, "Hi, how can I help you?" And Edward's like already back in his car.
Imagine that poor lady. Goodbye, beautiful man.
So I just got a image of Edward sniffing the ground like a dog.
Yeah, that's how I always imagined this.
With his tail
yes.
kind of wagging.
He's crouching down and he's sniffing. Oh, he's like Scooby-Doo.
Uh-huh.
Butt up, tail a wag. Yes.
And he follows Bella's scent as far as the shade would allow, stopping when he got to the edge of the sunlight. He's like, this sucks. I'm pretty sure she crossed the street. I don't know why, though. There's nothing over there. Is she lost? So he goes back to his car and he starts driving slowly through the streets. Maybe he turns on that AC real high to see if he can get a whiff of her through the vents.
Oh no, poor Edward.
But, and then he finds some shade. He does his shade patch sniffs.
He sniffs the patches of shade.
Uh-huh.
He drives back and forth from the bookstore to the restaurant.
Yeah. And Jessica and Angela are already at dinner trying to decide if they should eat or not, and Jessica's like, let's eat. And so he starts looking through everybody's minds and he's like, someone somewhere must have noticed her.
And then he's like, I got more and more anxious.
Yep. We're only a few minutes away from Edward Cologne approved outside activities. And so he's like, okay, I just have to wait a couple more minutes. I can go find her on foot. I'll find her in like 1 second. I just need to wait a few more minutes. And then he keeps searching through minds. People are thinking about their things. And then finally, there at last was her face. Finally, someone had noticed her. The relief lasted only a fraction of a second, and then I read more fully the thoughts of the man who was gloating over her face where she hesitated in the shadows.
The next little section is truly horrifying, everybody, just so you know. It's not...
You don't remember.
Yeah, if you haven't read it, if you didn't read Twilight, if you're just hopping in to say hi to us.
If you have not read Twilight and you're here listening to my words right now, send me an email. Yeah. I want to talk.
No, that is
Why
interesting.
are you here? That's really cool and weird.
Well, I think people are just barely hopping on to the Twilight train.
I know.
Young
but why
people?
would you start with listening to a Midnight Sun podcast before reading either of the books?
This book just came out. Oh, these girls are talking about it.
Let me go to chapter 9. Anyway.
It's really bad, though.
So, yeah. So, Edward's like, I don't know this person, but I know these thoughts. I had once hunted exactly such minds. Edward screams. Pedal to the metal.
Doesn't know where he's going. Just going.
Probably over here.
Going somewhere.
Yep. He doesn't know exactly where they are. Bella's in shadows. Her eyes were focused only on... Oh, his eyes were focused only on her frightened expression, enjoying the fear there. Her face was blurred in his mind by the memory of other faces. Bella was not his first victim. Then Edward really shows off how loud he can be by shaking the frame of his car with his growls.
He's like, it shook the frame of the car but did not distract me. It did distract the people in the town.
His vibrating car just drives by so fast.
They're like, he needs to turn his bass down. I hate that.
Teens these days. Edward notices that the wall behind her doesn't have windows, and so he's like, I think I know where she is. Swirls around, and then this guy is thinking about how scared Bella looks, and she says, stay away from me. And Edward notices how she's not screaming. Her voice is just like normal. And the guy says to her, don't be like that, sugar.
Ew.
Never call anyone sugar or I will kill you. No offense.
I'm not offended. It's fine.
It's just the grossest word you can call someone, I think. He watched her flinch at a rowdy laugh that came from another direction. He was irritated with the noise. Shut up, Jeff, he thought. But he enjoyed the way she cringed. It excited him. He began to imagine her pleas the way she would beg. And Edward's like, okay, so there's more than one dude here. This dude is the main source of worry because these other guys are just drunk and they have no idea what this dude named Lanny is planning on doing.
What do you think Lanny is short for?
Lanyard.
Lanyard.
Did you just think of that?
Yes. I will prove it. I didn't write it down. If I had thought of that earlier, I would have written it down. That's too good.
Lanyard.
Lanyard. Or what is Lanny?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Lanyard.
Lanyard.
Lanyard. And so one of these other guys is like, obviously doesn't want to be here. He's like looking around, laughing and nervous, but he looks at a street sign, so Edward knows where he's going, flashes, a flash of light through the red light. What am I saying?
Everybody's blaring their horns, pissed off at this teenager.
Yeah.
With this too loud bass.
Going through red lights. And then Edward's phone rings.
Oh no.
And he ignores it.
This is Alice. Edward, do not kill that man. Edward, do I have to come up to Port Angeles right now?
I'm honestly surprised
Edward!
she didn't.
I think she did. I think she went halfway there.
If you see Edward killing someone and then you call him and he doesn't answer, you go.
I think she went halfway there and then she saw that he picks up Bella.
So nervous.
So nervous.
He sees Lanyard move towards the girl. Victoria, where are we at with the girl? Too many of the girls. Still. Ever increasing. And Lanyard's waiting for Bella to scream, and he's like excited about it, but Bella doesn't. She just stands her ground.
No way, man.
And he's like, oh man, I thought she was gonna run away. Surprised, disappointed. He liked to chase his prey down, feel the adrenaline of the hunt. Is he a vampire? A human should not.
He's close.
Like these things.
He's really close to being a vampire.
Mm-hmm. Edward is 1 block away. We get dark from Edward real fast.
Yeah.
I would see how he enjoyed the hunt when he was the prey. I would see what he thought of my style of hunting.
I would like to see that, actually.
In another compartment of my head, can we talk about Edward's head compartments?
Are these like boxes?
I imagine his brain is like his car. But instead of 1 glove compartment, it's mostly glove compartments.
So he pulls on the little latch and they pop open.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, in this one goes all of I'm a hunter files.
Yep.
Close it back up.
Mm-hmm. So he definitely has a how to kill people compartment. He has he had to clear out some old compartments and make space for a new Bella compartment, which is definitely the biggest compartment he has now.
You have to purge. You have to get rid of all those old registration forms and insurance cards.
And then he has his CD track idea compartment. Yes. And his piano composition compartment. What other compartments could he possibly have?
He has a family compartment. He has
That's
a Carlisle,
true.
One just for Carlisle.
Yes. The Carlisle compartment might be almost as big as the Bella compartment.
Yes. He has his really boring high school compartment.
That's tiny. That's where you keep your pennies.
He has an Alice Vision compartment.
Oh yeah. That one has no ending. It's small, but
he has to crawl into it sometimes.
If you guys have other compartments that Edward has, please tell me. I love Edward's head compartments. So he's like, okay.
This is his I used to kill people compartment.
Yes, my serial killer compartment is open. And he's like, I never personally tortured anyone, but I know how all these other people tortured people. But this guy is definitely getting one Edward Cullen torture coming right up. And the others I'll just kill.
This creature named Lanyard would beg for death long before I would give him that.
So Lanyard's in the middle of the road, walking towards Bella. Edward comes spinning around the corner, does a 360 so that the car door is right next to Bella, and he opens it, and Bella throws herself in.
Bella is like, yes, all of my wildest dreams just came true. Edward Cullen, my knight in shiny Volvo armor. And she just head dives like into the Volvo.
Yes, she does.
What if it wasn't him?
Who else is going to be driving a shiny Volvo doing 360 spins towards Bella?
I don't know. It could have been somebody else. It's very unlikely, but what if it was somebody else? What if it was Lanyard's best friend?
Who's Lanyard's best friend, Keychain?
They call him Keith. I'm so nervous. I'm just really nervous about this.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Keith and Lanny. They're buddies. Oh gosh. I didn't bring down a huge glass of ice water today, and I am feeling it.
It's really toasty under these Hollywood lights.
Okay, but no, I really... I really want to know, because I'm nervous for Bella. She thinks to herself, the shiny Volvo was Edward's, because she saw it earlier.
Right.
And was like, no, there's no way. And then it shows up to her rescue, you know, but it's like, could have been somebody else. Keith.
I mean, it could. But Bella knows this car.
Okay. She's been staring at it.
That's the exact model. It has those weirdly tinted windows.
She is weird about cars, too.
She knows.
She remembers the car. Okay.
All the guys that are there freak out. We've got P.O. Box Key. We've got Keychain from Disneyland. We have Smith's Rewards card.
And we have a pin. An enamel pin. Enamel pin.
They're all like, oh no, she's not alone. Should we run? I'm gonna barf.
Yeah, the one dude is really sick.
Yeah. So Bella hops in, closes the door, and then she looked at me with the most trusting expression I had ever seen on a human face, and all my violent plans crumbled.
Oh, sorry, Edward.
It took much, much less than a second for me to see that I could not leave her in the car in order to deal with the 4 men in the street. What would I tell her, not to watch? When did she ever do what I asked?
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, we've talked about this before. She would not.
So he's like, I could lock her in the car and take them like another block away. But then some other guy's just going to come up to the Volvo and try to kill Bella, so I can't do that. So he starts to drive away, and he's like, she's not going to even notice that I considered how to kill those guys right then.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But he really wants to kill them. He wants to kill them so bad. He wants to kill them more than he wants to taste Bella's blood, and that's saying something.
Yeah, she's like right next to him.
Mm-hmm. I had to kill him. I would peel him slowly apart, piece by piece, skin from muscle, muscle from bone.
Damn! Edward!
Except that the girl...
The only girl in the world. I'm sorry, that line will always kill me. It's so beautiful.
Was clinging to her seat with both hands, staring at me, her eyes strangely calm and unquestioning. Vengeance would have to wait.
She's like, hi.
The best day of my life.
Literal best date I've ever been on. Just started.
Can't wait for our second date already. He tells her to put her seatbelt on, and so she does. And the seatbelt click makes Bella jump.
Why?
It's so quiet in there. She's surprised.
Oh.
Edward is turning left at right turn onlys. He is going at the yields. He is stopping at the goes.
He is. He's ignoring all traffic guides. He's entering the do not enters.
He is
He's
merging
driving
on the do not merges.
He's driving through the not a through streets.
He is going clockwise through the roundabouts. All traffic guides ignored.
Bella's just staring at him. She doesn't know.
She doesn't care. She's like, are you okay? And he's like, well, I don't know. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. He takes her back to where he was parked before, where he engaged in the poorest surveillance ever kept.
It is canon that he is the worst tracker ever.
It's true.
I mean, that's hashtag fact. He cannot track to save Bella's life.
Not Bella's, for sure. He just has to be a statue, because if he moves, he's just gonna go kill Lanyard. But if he does, then he has to leave Bella alone, and that's not good. But he's also thinking about all those other people he killed before. And then he thinks about the worst person he ever killed, but even then, he just regular killed him. He didn't torture him.
I really loved this, like, mini story in this chapter, and I know because I asked Stephanie Meyer, because I was very curious about it. She's not a murderino. Like, she does not listen to true crime. It is not her thing. It's not her jam. She's sure good at writing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, is this a description based on a true person? Like,
I don't know.
I'm just gonna, like, say that it is and enjoy the thought that Edward Cullen killed a real serial killer.
That would be
and rescued these,
really cool.
at least one of the victims rescued, you know? Like,
yeah.
I just wonder if there's like a story out there somewhere where this girl is like, we got rescued by this beautiful man and I don't know who he was, but he saved me and brought me to this hospital, and now that guy's dead. And I just really want that to be like a real thing. It's very detailed for being such a like mini story.
Yeah. He thinks about how all of the people that he killed when he was hunting them felt remorse, or they felt something when Edward found them, and how like I'm confused, because Edward killed all of these people, but then he says that many of them turned to alcohol or drugs, so that's not from their experience
that was like
with Edward.
before.
That's like before.
That's like while they were being criminals.
Okay, yeah. So people, they would either become addicts, or they would kind of just go
like split
crazy.
their personality.
Yeah, they'd have like two versions of themselves, whatever. But then there was this one guy. I assume it's a guy. I'm pretty positive I'm right.
Yeah, they usually are.
Yes, it's who didn't feel anything. I never found anyone who embraced his own evil so thoroughly. He was utterly delighted by the world he'd created, a world of helpless victims and their tortured screams. Pain was the object of all of his pursuits, and he'd gotten very good at creating it, at prolonging it. And even for this guy, Edward didn't torture him. And so he's like, then why now do I feel so differently about this guy?
It's love makes you do the wacky.
Mm-hmm. Lanyard is an atrocity, but surely not worse than the one I remembered. Why did it feel right then? Imperative that he suffer so much more. But first, Bella, are you all right? She's like, yep, I'm good. And he's like, well, okay, I guess I'm not leaving then. She must be so frightened. She must be so scared. I can't comfort her though, even if I knew how.
Yeah, she's not frightened.
Surely she could feel the brutality radiating out of me.
Oh, wow.
No, she just smells you and you smell good. So he's like, distract me, and she's like, what? And he's like, just tell me something. And so she's like, well, I'm gonna kill Tyler Crowley tomorrow. And Edward's like, perfect. I'd love to hear her talk about killing people. So he's like, why? And she's like, well, he's telling everyone that he's taking me to prom. Either he's trying to make up for killing me, and so I feel like if I kill him, then it's fair, you know? Plus, then maybe Lauren will leave me alone, but I'll probably have to not only kill him, but also his car so he can't drive me anywhere.
Oh, gosh, Bella. So wait, does Lauren like Eric, or is she just like Rosalie, where she doesn't want Eric to like anybody else, even though she doesn't
Tyler?
Like... Oh yeah, Tyler.
I think that Lauren likes girls.
So do
she's
I.
just jealous of Bella
going
to a dance with a boy and not
Okay.
with her. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She likes Bella.
Mm-hmm. Just like everyone else. So Edward's like, oh, cool. Well, I guess it's nice to know that Bella's not always right about everything, because Tyler's not trying to make up for the accident. He just wants to go to the dance with Bella. She didn't seem to understand the appeal she held for human boys at the high school. Did she not see the appeal she had for me either?
It would help if you would ever like talk to her like a normal person.
Maybe you could slide a note across the table.
Maybe you could just not, every time you're with her, not say, we shouldn't be hanging out. Just try that.
Do you give it a ye old try? And so Edward's like, I heard about that. And Bella's like, why? You did? Oh, maybe I could just paralyze him. Then he definitely can't go to the dance. I wish there were some way I could ask her to continue with the threats of death and bodily harm without sounding insane.
It's so cute.
Bella, I love it when you talk murder to me. She couldn't have picked a better way to calm me.
So cute, so cute.
She's like, are you better? And he's like, no. He still wants to go kill Lanyard. But
Sorry. When I...
Yeah, sorry, the last 10 minutes got lost because who knows why my phone is acting out.
Rounded.
Where were we?
Well, they just walked in to the, okay, so they walked into the restaurant and you were like, and I was like, Edward always ignores everybody because he thinks they're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And so and also he doesn't hang out with humans, except for at high school, but then he just ignores everyone. So he's like, oh my gosh, why is everybody like thinking I'm so hot tonight? But I'm like, no, they're always thinking you're hot. It's just that you don't listen to them and you don't hang out with humans.
Yeah, it's like when you're car shopping and you have like 2 cars that you really want, you suddenly notice them driving everywhere, but it's just because it's like on your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, no, you're just actually unperceptive about most things most of the time.
Yes.
So the hostess is like, do you want a table for 2? And nope.
Nope.
We read. Okay.
No, the hostess just stared at him.
Just to stare.
Without saying anything.
So Edward's like, can we get a table, please? And the hostess is like, oh my goodness, you're so handsome. Yes, welcome to here. Follow me. And then she's thinking to herself, maybe she's his cousin. Family, definitely. He can't be with her.
Oh, rude.
And Edward's like, you're so stupid. I know I'm beautiful, but also did you notice the beautifulness of Bella? Obviously not. And so this hostess deliberately gives them a table in the middle of the room that has like 10 chairs at it.
That's the most obvious shade she could possibly throw. It's so rude.
And Bella's just like, whatever, goes to sit down. And so Edward pulls out some money and he gives it to her and he's like, can we get somewhere more private? But I have a question.
Okay.
Is this Edward's first time in a restaurant? since becoming a vampire.
I mean, what reason would he have ever had to go to a restaurant? He's just figuring, he knows this from movies.
Because remember in Twilight when Edward gives the hostess the tip and Bella's like, I've never seen anyone do that in real life, only in movies.
Yeah.
Edward did get it from a movie. This is Edward's first time at a restaurant.
Oh my gosh, you're right. You're right.
It's true.
I agree with you. And he doesn't recognize that those... Okay, so Jessica and Angela just went to this restaurant, which means it couldn't have been more than about $10 per plate.
Uh-huh.
And so he doesn't realize that when you're at a restaurant like this, you can just ask the hostess. You don't have to give them money. You can just say, oh, can we actually just like have a booth? Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I've got one over here. They don't care. Mm-hmm. Like, the only thing that it changes for them is that they might have to seat you in somebody else's section that they weren't planning on. They don't care. Uh-huh. And so he like thinks he's so smooth. He pulls out a 50 and he like sticks it in her hand, wraps her fingers around it. Can you get us something more private? She's like, what the? I guess. Cool, he's rich.
Yeah. Edward.
I absolutely got this from a movie.
So funny. So yeah, she takes him to the booth and she's like, wow, he's rich, $50.
Wait a minute. First of all, also, does he just carry around cash with him? Because he took that out of his back pocket. He didn't even pull out a wallet. He just like grabbed a 50 from his back pocket.
Oh, I'm sure Alice just stuffs cash into all their clothes.
Just in case.
You never know.
Little walking around money. Here you go. That's what my grandpa used to call it.
I mean, okay, so is Alice sneakily trying to diminish the wealth of the Cullen family?
By putting money in their pockets, like, by giving them 50s?
At the beginning of every month, she just goes and pulls out like $50,000 in $50 bills and she puts it in all their pockets and sometimes like in their shoes or like in their book bag in places where like it could definitely just fall out somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
And so they're just like
this is her way
leaving cash everywhere.
This is her way of redistributing the wealth.
That's what I would do.
Instead of just buying things, you're just dropping cash.
Yep, don't give these to humans, you guys. Here we go. Anyone cool. At any time for any reason.
That's really sweet, actually.
I think it's a good thing to do. So Edward, they go sit down. And he's like, I don't know what's gonna happen. How much does she know? How much has she guessed? And Bella's just along for the ride. And so the hostess is like, how's this? And he's like, it's perfect. Feeling annoyed that she's being so like weird towards Bella. And so Edward shows his teeth to her because that'll put her in her place. Okay, so Edward Cullen thinks that smiling at girls will scare them. This is why Emmett makes fun of him so much. Because he's like, I'm gonna scare this girl. He just smiles and they're like, oh, go, oh. Edward. Edward. Baring my teeth at her, let her see me clearly. No. She's like, your server will be right out. And then she's like, maybe I'll write my number in marinara sauce on his plate. They're just gonna dump some in a little pipette. Mm-hmm. 5, 2, 9. Jeez. And he goes, odd. She still wasn't frightened. You're not scary. Smiling isn't scary, Edward. And Bella's like, you shouldn't do that. And he's like, do what? What did she mean? It didn't even work. And she's like, well, dazzle them. She's probably hyperventilating in the kitchen right now. And Edward's like, I mean, she basically is doing that. But what does Bella mean? And Bella's like, come on, you have to know the effect you have on people. And Edward's like, I dazzle people? I thought I just horrified them. Look at me. I am grotesque. She's like, you haven't noticed? Do you think everyone gets their way so easily? And he says, do I dazzle you?
Ugh, gross. This is...
And then he immediately is like, why did I say that?
No, he's right to think that. Him being with Bella is the absolute 100% best thing that could have ever happened to him, because she is like... Not everybody gets their way all the time. Not everybody has such an easy life, Edward Cullen. Mm-hmm. It's not fair for you to do that to people and manipulate them, Edward Cullen. Like, she just calls him out on everything. I love it.
She says frequently, and then she blushes.
He goes, I dazzled her.
My silent heart swelled with a hope more intense than I could ever remember having felt before.
Oh, honey.
And then the waitress comes over. He just ignores her, though. He stares at Bella instead, watching the blood spreading across her cheekbones, noticing not how that made my throat flame, but rather how it brightened her fair face, how it set off the cream of her skin.
Very, very sweet. Okay.
And then he's like, oh, the waitress asked what drinks we want. And so he just stares at Bella still, and Bella's like, I guess I'll have a Coke. And he's like, 2. Bella's just staring at Edward, and she's like, what? He's like, well, how are you feeling? I'm fine. You don't feel dizzy, sick, cold? She's like, no. Should I? Well, I'm actually waiting for you to go into shock. And she's like, such a confused. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm very good at repressing unpleasant things.
Oh, man.
He's like, well, still eat. And then the Cokes come, and then a basket of bread comes. And the waitress is like, sir, what would you like? And he's like, nothing, just her, honestly.
Oh, sweet.
And she says, I will have the mushroom ravioli.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds so good right now.
Honestly,
I'm so hungry.
I know. I had some peanut butter toast, but that's it.
I had cinnamon toast, and that's it.
Maybe we should order the burgers before our live this time.
Maybe.
And then Bella shivers. Nope. So the Cokes come, and Bella smiles that Edward didn't order anything, and he tells her to drink, and so she sucks down an entire Coke in like 3 seconds. And so he gives her the other one, and he's like, is she just thirsty, or is this shock? And then she drinks a little bit more, and she shudders, and he's like, are you cold? And she's like, no, it's just a Coke.
It's just the Coke.
It's cold. And then he's looking at her beautiful shirt and how it's barely skin.
Oh, good grief.
He's like, where's your jacket? And she's like, oh, it's in Jessica's car. And so he takes off his jacket and gives it to her. And he's like, I wish that this was warm.
Did he learn this from a movie too?
I'm pretty sure he's just reenacting a whole dinner scene. It's just like how any intimate moments with Bella are just Jessica's thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
This is also just like, he's just doing a movie.
I have seen this on Dawson's Creek. It must work.
Yep. So he gives her the jacket, and she says thanks, and she takes a deep breath as she puts it on.
She sniffs that jacket.
Puts the sleeves up, takes another deep breath, and he's like, oh, this is it. She's gonna start screaming.
Because it's so cold.
But no, she's just literally, her jacket smells good. He compliments the blue blouse, and she says, thank you very much.
And then he does the most romantic thing you've done so far. He pushes the bread toward her. Oh my gosh, I want somebody to push bread at me right now.
I never don't want that.
That's romance right there.
If it's a cooked warm bread in a basket, yes.
Oh my God.
That is, yeah. Bella's like, really? I'm not going into shock. And he's like, well, you should be. And she's like, well, I feel very safe with you. And he's like, oh no, her instincts again. All twisty-wisty.
But you saved her life. Of course she feels safe with you.
How could I protect her from myself when neither of us wanted that?
Yeah, no.
He says, this is more complicated than I planned. Bella eats one bite of a breadstick. And then she's like, usually you're nicer when your eyes are so light. He's like, what? well, you're crabbier when your eyes are black. I have a theory about that. And he's like, oh no, here we go. A night of theories, I suppose. And he tells her that he hopes that she was more creative, and that she didn't get it from a comic book. And she's like, no, but I didn't come up with it myself. And he's like, okay. Interesting. I mean, she's not screaming still, so she can't know the truth. And then the waitress comes over, puts down the raviolis, and leaves. And Edward, and again asks Edward if he wants anything, and he just asks for more drinks. And then he's like, okay, Bella, continue. And she's like, no, I'll tell you later in the car. And he's like, oh no, in the car. If, she says, and he's like, if what? And she's like, well, I have some questions. And he's like, of course you do. But this is okay because maybe he can figure out what she's thinking based on the questions that she asks. And he's like, okay. And she's like, why are you in Port Angeles? And he's like, that doesn't tell me anything about you, Bella. Skip. She's like, but that one's easy. And he's like, nope. And so then she looks and she eats one ravioli. And while she's eating her raviolis, Edward has a thought, of course.
Yes.
He, instead of seeing Bella and a ravioli, he sees Persephone with a pomegranate. And he's like, ah, yes, of course. I am Hades.
So he's like, this is awful. I'm the devil. And this beautiful girl is damning herself. But I'm like, you know what is actually, she's making a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like she's like being dragged into hell or whatever. No.
You didn't poison that ravioli and trick her with it.
She's making a very, very clear, conscious choice that she has chosen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit with this boy. I'm going to ask him questions. I'm going to tell him what I think that I've already figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making the choice to be with him.
Yeah.
So he's just, Edward, can you just not? Please?
He can't.
Honey.
He can't not.
Honey.
It's too hard.
Okay.
So Bella's like, okay, hypothetically, if someone could read minds, how does that work? And Edward's like, I guess it could be worse. No one had ever guessed this about me except for Carlisle. He understood before I had. This question wasn't so bad, not as serious as it could have been. My reading was, after all, not a facet of vampire canon. And he's like, well, just one exception, hypothetically. And she's like, ooh, okay. So how does it work then? What are the limitations? How would you, find someone who was like in trouble, that kind of thing? And Edward's like, well, if such a person, and Bella's like, Joe? Edward's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If Joe were paying attention, it wouldn't have needed to be so specific.
Joe.
Only you could get into trouble in a town this small.
And she's like, me? This is a hypothetical conversation we're having here.
Shall we call you Jane then? And
then she just goes, how did you know?
And Edward's just like, oh, to touch those lips with my hand, but I cannot. And he's like, should I tell her? I want to tell her. Is it good to tell her? I mean, she trusts me. She definitely won't trust me after that. Bella goes to give a hand touch, and Edward's like, no, thank you. It's disgusting. It's cold and clammy. You will not like it.
Wrong.
And Edward's like, okay, I know I can trust Bella with any information I give her. I cannot trust her reaction to that information. And I really like where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're so observant. And she's like, I know. I thought you were always right, though. And he's like, I used to be. And he's like, but also I was wrong about another thing. You're not just a magnet for accidents. You are a magnet for trouble. And she's like, are you trouble then? And he's like, definitely I'm trouble.
Bella, death is my gift.
And then she looks a little concerned, and she gets a smile on her face that Edward knows is a smile that she saves for someone when she is confronted with someone else's pain.
Oh, she sees that he is very sad.
Yep. And she goes to touch his hand again, and he just slides it back a little bit this time, but she ignores him, determined. And she gives her his hands a little doodly doot doot tickly wiggly, and he's like, that feels good.
No, he doesn't say that feels good. He says it was almost pure pleasure.
This is the best tickly wiggly I've ever experienced.
Something is happening here.
Under table.
Under the table, kind of like under the window.
Yes.
It's, yes.
Uh-huh. Good thing he got that 50. Never mind.
Yep.
And as Bella's giving him a hand tickle, she says thank you.
I did not think you were going to say hand tickle.
I didn't say anything. You're going to say Keith.
Hand tickle is much worse than Keith.
I disagree.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, that's my second hand tickle. And Edward's like, oh, I like her hand tickles. And he's like, let's not do a third hand tickle tonight, Bella. And she's like, okay, only 2 hand tickles.
Edward is...
They still have so much longer.
He's overwhelmed by his first and second hand tickle. It can be a really life-changing experience.
Your pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
After that,
But he goes, let's not try for 3, agreed. And she just frowns at him. She is not agreed.
And then he's like, okay, that hand tickle really changed me. I do want to tell her the truth right now.
Yes.
Because I wanted her to know me. And so he tells her, I followed you to Port Angeles. And he's just waiting for her to freak out. And he's like, I never tried to keep a specific person alive before. It's very troublesome. And she just stares at him, smiling. And he's like, I just told her that I stalked her and she's smiling at me.
Well, yes, it's you.
And she's like, well, do you think that I was supposed to die with that van, though? Like, aren't you just interrupting fate? And he's like, oh, no. Your number was up the first time I met you. And he's like, I hate that that's true about me. And then he wishes that there was something physical that he could do to protect Bella, something that he could fight. He wants to be able to punch accidents in the face.
Yes.
To save Bella from them, but he can't. And he is listening to Bella's breathing, and it's starting to get faster. And he's like, oh no, she's definitely scared now. I just told her that I almost killed her. And he looks at her, and she's just normal looking. And she's like, okay. And he's like, you remember? And she's like, yeah. He's like, she knew that I had wanted to murder her. Where were her screams? And he's like, but you're here. And she's like, yeah, because of you. Mm-hmm. Because you knew how to find me today. And then Edward tries one more time to get into Bella's head, and he can't. And she just sits there. And he's like, he looks at her full plate of raviolis, and he's like, okay, if this conversation continues, she's definitely gonna freak out, so she should eat some of these. And so he tells her if she eats, he'll talk. And so she eats another ravioli, and he tells her it's hard keeping track of her because he can't hear her. Usually it's easy to find someone once I've read their mind. And he looks at her, and she is still good, and she eats another ravioli. And so he tells her that he was listening to Jessica, but not carefully, and he didn't notice when she took off. And so he started randomly searching through thoughts of people on the street. He was anxious about this.
Anxious.
So he started driving in circles. Then the sun was setting, and he could finally get out of his car. And then Edward remembers all about Lanyard and his want to kill him, and
he almost has to leave the restaurant right this second.
Yep.
To go kill Lanyard and Keith.
But Bella still needed me. And so Bella's like, then what happened? Even though this is literally when she comes into the story. And he goes, I heard what they were thinking. I saw your face in his mind. I knew where to find him. And then Edward has to be a cover of the face because he has his hunting. He's in vamp mode right now.
Yeah, he totally vamped out just then.
He has to hide it.
He needs to spread it out a little bit.
Yes, get some smooths. And he closes his eyes and he just pictures Bella in his mind instead of Lanyard. And he's like, she needs a protector. I was the closest thing available. And then he's like, okay, how do I explain that I just got so angry? And so he tells her it's very hard. You can't imagine how hard to just take you away and leave them alive. I was afraid if you left me alone, I would go looking for them. He's like, crap, I just told her I was going to kill someone again. And he won't look at her. He's listening to her heart, and it kind of speeds up a little bit, but then it slows back down, and her breathing is fine. And he's like, I'm getting too worked up. I need to get her home before I come back and kill them.
Yes.
I don't know how to stop myself. Plus, she's going to tell me her theory when we're alone. So maybe we should go do that.
Yep.
So he asks, are you ready to go home? And she says, I'm ready to leave. And Edward's so annoyed that she didn't just say yes. He's like, why did she say it that way?
No, be so happy that she doesn't want to go home.
Yep.
She wants to extend the date.
Yep. So the waitress comes back and he says, we're ready for the check. And she is like, ooh, the check. Dazzled by his voice. In a sudden moment of perception, hearing the way my voice sounded to this inconsequential human's head, I realized why I seemed to be attracting so much admiration tonight, unmarred by the usual fear. It was because of Bella.
Oh,
I'm trying to not be scary for Bella, and now I've lost my edge, and other humans are looking how beautiful I am, and they are not scared of me.
I don't think anybody's ever been scared of him. I have to be honest.
Only when literally his hands are wrapped. Well, even then.
Even then, they're like, yes, please take my life. It's fine.
It will be my honor. So the waitress hands the little bill thing, and Edward just pulls out some money and hands it directly back to her, even though he knows that her phone number is in there.
I'm trying to think of like that plate of ravioli plus the breadsticks plus the, how many Cokes? She had 3 at least.
4 were ordered.
4 Cokes was, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then plus, I'm just...
it's like a $23 bill, maybe.
And so then he gives her $100 and says, keep the
At
change.
least, I hope. Get rid of all those pocket bills, please. So he stands up, Bella stands up, and he really wants to hold her hand, but he's nervous about it, and so he doesn't, and he just follows her out the door, close enough that he can feel the warmth coming off of her like a physical touch. He holds the door open for her, she sighs. Me and Bella have this in common where we hate when people do things for us, and so I've been on dates before where people insist on opening the door and opening my car door, and I'm like, stop, I can do this myself, I have functioning limbs. So Bella, I get it. And Bella doesn't say anything to them as they go towards the car, and he's like, oh no, what does this mean? They get in, he turns on the heat, and Bella's happy about this. She smiles. And suddenly the car seems very small. There's lots of Bella smell in here. It turns into an entire third
just
wheel.
This huge, like, cloud of Bella's scent just sitting right in between them, staring at Edward. So
Yes.
it's a dude for some reason.
Sup. Oh my gosh. The burning was acceptable, though. It seemed strangely appropriate to me. I had been given so much tonight, more than I had expected, and here she was, still willingly at my side. I owed something in return for that. A sacrifice. A burnt offering.
What?
You don't have to, Here's the thing. If something good happens, that doesn't mean that something bad also has to be happening at the same time.
You do not have to suffer for your happiness.
No.
You don't.
You don't.
Let's get that, like, ingrained into people's consciousnesses.
And engraved into their skull bones.
When you're born, you get an engraving.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to suffer for your happiness.
Perfect.
Cool.
I think people will go for that. And now he's like, okay, we can maintain this. It'll be a burn, it'll be a muscle tense and a venom in the mouth. I'll drool a little bit, but that's it. That's where I draw my line. Plus, she's going to be a good distraction, and so he says to her now, it's your turn. End of chapter.
Your turn, Bella. Ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that was fun.
That was such a long chapter, but I love it.
That could have been 2 chapters.
It's definitely
easily.
3 in 1 for sure.
But I love it.
Me too.
And it was fun. And I want to have dinner with Edward Cullen. Would you be okay with him, like, watching you eat, though?
No, I would be so nervous.
It is nervous. I also thought about this. And I can say this in the next one, too. But so she drank at least 1 Coke. Or 2.
2
all
was
the way
working on
gone.
a 3rd.
Working on a 3rd. Had a 4th in case.
Mm-hmm.
And then ate a little bit of the ravioli and then they left. And she also had some of a breadstick.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're going to get in the car and drive home. She's going to have to pee so bad.
But Edward drives there in 15 minutes.
He does drive there
It's not
way
even
too
enough
fast.
for that to enter her bladder. The Coke is still in the area.
It's still in the tummy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
she's
good.
fine.
I just
She's
get
gonna have
nervous.
to pee a lot when she gets home.
I get really nervous about people having to pee because I have to pee all the time.
I definitely would end up in the situation where I was in the car with Edward Cullen and I'd be like, I have to pee so badly,
See?
please pull over. Because that happens to me constantly and I
That
don't know
has
why.
happened to it with me before.
Literally, if you're my friend and I haven't made you pull over so I can pee, we probably just need to hang out more because it will happen eventually.
Really, probably true.
Here's the thing, I drink so much water usually while I'm sitting down. And then the second I stand up and get into the car, it like all adjusts and gets into the bladder. And then it's like, it's fine. But then once I'm sitting for like another 5 minutes, I'm like, oh no. I'm literally going to pee on the seat right now.
Really
We either have to get to a toilet in 1 minute or less, or I'm just out the door.
No. Okay. Well, it's broken. What on earth just... Now I'm scared. I need to pull mine around and twist
I need
it
to twist.
on.
I guess we're off-roading. Okay, I feel so bad for this Patreon video.
I can't believe...
Nothing has been as chaotic as today's recording.
I just can't believe that you've unwound that enough.
I can't believe it made it the whole episode.
You didn't even touch it, though.
I didn't touch it.
I'm really nervous about mine, but I don't twist mine around the way you do.
I thought it would just
Obviously.
swivel back and forth. I didn't know I made complete revolutions.
All right,
my
everybody. Can't talk.
Thank you for joining on. Thank you for joining us for this most giggly of episodes we've had in Remember Twilight history.
Yep, you guys are the best. Oh, I've been wanting to say this, remember, for a year and a half.
All right, here we go.
And remember, don't leave your friends in a strange city with a strange boy.
Also, Lanny is short for lanyard. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. I have just tears rolling down my face, giving that
I cannot.